And then Andre was trying at some point to do his own thing because he had left.
You know, to be honest with you, for one thing, there's a lot of me in what was going on at the time. If anybody knows that, it would be him. People would always ask me stuff that I thought they should ask him. Ask him. Dude is very articulate. He can talk circles around most people. I would love to be able to have him answer questions, and I would love to hear his interpretation.
I used Andre, my bass player, on Why You Want to Treat Me So Bad, and sang a small harmony part, but you really couldn't hear. There was a typo error, and he didn't get credit, and that started. I tried to explain that to him, but when you're on the way out, there's no explaining too much of anything. People are going to think what they want to.
There was no animosity between the two of you guys. Are you guys still friends?
No, we're still friends.
Good friends?
It was time to move on. We did that. It was a good relationship. I have mostly fond memories of it, and I learned from it.
I just wanted to try a new direction, and bring in some new music.
The record company wasn't crazy about it because they wanted hits and they wanted to sell and they wanted to be just like what Prince was doing. And
it's a story behind it, though.
Well, here's the thing. Peppy Willie, his uncle, is in Little Anthony and Imperials. And so he had asked, Prince and myself if we wanted to write some songs for him. And we were like, yeah, because this was like, we can make some money because obviously we didn't have a lot of money. So we were trying to figure out, okay, how can we make some money while we're... And so we wound up going out there to do that. And so that was going to be one of the songs. And, he had written some songs. And oddly enough, Feel For You was one of the songs, that was written for that particular project.
It was at Lecture Ladyland Studios. Sly and I were real good friends. It would have been nothing for him to call me anywhere I was. He could find me. He would call. I was in a hotel, and I get a phone call. And I want to be at the studio. You want to come down there? I thought it was him on the phone. Sound just like him. No, okay, I'll be down there in a minute. She told me where it is. So he told me where it was, and I went down there looking for Sly. The studio is dark and cold. I said, what the I said, there's nothing going on. So I just went all the way to the back, found a booth with a light in it, one guy in there by himself, and then there's one engineer. So this is very un-Sly-like. So I went and looked in the booth, and I went in, and there's a little short guy in there, with a big guitar playing the shit out of it, my dad. So when he saw me, he put down the guitar. He said, that was me on the phone. I said, okay, nice to meet you. I have to go. And I left. I said, hey, to the engineer, who is that? He said, that's Prince. I said, Prince? Prince of what? When his album came out, I was really impressed. The album was getting ready to be done with. They had done maybe 2 or 3 singles on it, but they hadn't released I Feel For You. I said, I'm gonna redo this sucker here.
But there's this thing called the compulsory license law, which allows artists through the record companies to take your music at will without your permission. And that doesn't exist in any other art form, be it books, movies.
And I did, and it did well because we decided to add rap, put a rapper on it. That was like actually officially the first album.
Covering music means that your version doesn't exist anymore. A lot of times people think I'm doing Shaka Khan's songs when in fact I wrote those songs.
Throughout the bulk of the 80s, he was the leader. He was the guy who was setting the new trends. He was at the forefront. He was cutting edge. Everything he was doing was what everybody was biting.
You didn't want to hear them people singing his music. You didn't want to hear Tom Jones singing Kiss. I asked him, did you give him permission to do that? You used to have permission, but now you don't. I don't think he particularly was fond of anybody really doing his music, or very few. What was wrong with the version I put out? Why you think you gotta come behind me and do another one? So he said, I have no idea what my fans want from me musically. It's like I can guess. I kind of do what I do, but I don't really know what they want to hear. And as far as a hit, who can tell?
To be perfectly honest, I've always just written as it came to me. I've always been the type of person that danced to the beat of my own drums. You know what I mean?
He told me that, he said, I got an advanced copy of Control by Janet Jackson. Terry and Debbie sent one over. He listened to it. He didn't think he heard one single on the record. He said, I threw that CD in the garbage. He said, every time I heard a song off that record, I'd hear the sound of that CD hitting the side of the tin can.
I took it as an insult. Yeah, because he came by, he drove by my house right after the Control album came out, and he like threw the CD out the window or did something. Yeah, my mom told me. My mom would always say, you know, when people do that, it means that they're jealous of you for something. Oh, how the hell is Prince jealous of me? That dude is the most talented dude ever in the history of people, period. I'm nowhere near him.
Every time he heard one of those songs, it was like a reminder that, like, you were dead wrong.
I tend to like the things that I grew up with more so than what I'm getting and hearing amongst musicians today.
When you really start hearing digital sampling in hip-hop around the mid-'80s.
You know, they went through James' music, they went through George's music, and now they're trying to go through mine.
All of a sudden, it's something else, and it's something he doesn't do.
I love hip-hop, and some of these acts I really dig, but...
He may or may not have liked a given record, but the culture didn't relate to him. You know, I don't think he really respected the art of sampling and mixing.
You know, I wouldn't know what to say about it. I can't have a real educated answer for that because I play, I guess.
He didn't get it.
Technology is not simply something to play the record. I can play the technology. To me, it's in a tradition of great black music.
I don't sample. You know, I am a musician, you know, because I go on stage and my microphone is on. Why you want to sample something?
I sampled one word, which was Tennessee, and it was from Alphabet Street. And so I felt like it's safe. It's one word. Sampling wasn't really locked in stone just yet how it all should work. And especially for the artists, there wasn't a lot of rules. It was more like the Wild Wild West. But as soon as it went from 3 to 4, I got a call from Prince's office. And this is as much money as it's gonna make pretty much. I'm coming for you now. And like, yeah, when he came for us, at first I was like, are you kidding me? Because he charged us $100,000 for the word.
Here it is. The Bomb Squad was the association of Chuck D, Hank Shockley, Keith Shockley, and Eric Vietnam Sadler. Those 4 individuals together were the Bomb Squad.
Chuck is gonna have something, and I'm gonna be like, and so we're all together, and there's this one little moment that it all just meshes together in a nice vibration.
Public Enemy. Well, that's good politics, but it ain't. They can't sing or play. Hip hop to him only meant you didn't play and you didn't sing, but you still made records. He was a little confused with the advent of hip hop. Hip hop's crossover into mainstream acceptance bewildered him.
I don't want to contribute to the problem. You know, I just got a request for songs, but
Prince told me, he's like, Tupac wants to sample 7779311. He said, I don't think I want my music used that way. He said no. Tupac, he had to hire somebody to read. They replayed it. A lot of people came asking for permission to use stuff. I don't know how he felt about Tupac in particular. I'm just saying.
But, you know, when it starts out, bitch this and 40 that, you know, I already did like this because I know you can't get out of a web like that. That is a web.
Our job is to spark somebody else watching us. We might not be the ones, but let's not be selfish, and because we're not going to change the world, let's not talk about how we should change it. You know, I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. They know what I'm going to say. And even if I get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? Ain't that what we're supposed to do? Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out. You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. I don't know how to change it, but I know if I keep talking about how dirty it is out here, somebody going to clean it up.
I think we have to remember to respect the music.
I bought Purple Rain for my daughter. We heard the song Let's Go Crazy on the radio, and Prince is a musical genius. I agree with that, and I like some of his music. But I didn't feel like the song Darling Nikki was appropriate for my 11-year-old. It says, I met a girl named Nikki. Guess you could say she was a sex fiend. I met her in a hotel lobby masturbating with a magazine.
Well, I always challenge people to play one of my so-called explicit songs up against an explicit song of today. I mean, if you take some of the music off these songs of today. You've got straight pornography. And one thing I always tried to keep was sensuality in my music. It was never done in a spirit of misogyny or meanness.
Motley Crue, Prince, ZZ Top. These are a few of the rock musicians criticized by Tennessee Senator Albert Gore's wife, Tipper. Mrs. Gore has joined forces with state and national PTA members to combat what she considers sexually explicit and violent lyrics.
There are songs about glorifying incest, there are songs about rape, thrill killing, sadomasochism. There's a song that goes, quote, not a woman but a whore, taste the hate, well, you, watch your face turn blue, unquote, by a group that has sold.
And we feel like one of the major problems with the teen suicide may be listening to those records. And
one young ZZ Top fan said he sees no reason for all the fuss.
It's just words. It's how well, you want to relate to the words.
But Tipper Gore and PTA members say those words cross the line between sensuality and hardcore sexuality.
And it's part of the evolution. I was growing at that point, and I was getting to a point in my career where I could say anything.
Today, Dan and Steve Peters took their case before the St. Paul City Council. They cited examples of sexual lyrics in Prince's music and asked the City Council to appoint a bipartisan committee to rate the rock concerts to be held at the Civic Center in order to give parents a better understanding of what kind of music their children would be hearing. They also suggested the council cancel the Prince concerts altogether.
It's really dangerous when we start saying what events we think are proper for this city and which ones are not.
By a unanimous vote, the council decided to do nothing.
We're just concerned that the city of St. Paul wants to provide a public platform for him to endorse values that the city itself does not believe in. We think that if Prince wants to have freedom of speech, he should do it on his own platform and not on a platform that's provided by tax funds like the Civic Center.
Dan and I are both tax-paying citizens in the city of St. Paul. We are helping support Prince, and we don't want to.
While the crowd waited patiently outside, members of the Peters Brothers group protested Prince's appearance at the Civic Center. No one took their advice. They all went inside, but not before a few words were exchanged.
What do you know about God?
Purple people came out early looking for their Prince to appear, but in the end they had to stand in long lines for a long time. Prince's Twin City fanatics were easy to spot. There were purple coats, purple sunglasses, and...
Can't beat them Prince purple roses.
That's right, purple roses. And by the way, his people don't like us showing you his limo.
You can't shoot the limo.
I went and made it on my own merits. I wrote every song I ever did. Every song was mine, because if I would have even attempted to steal something, because he didn't play that. He would sue the pants off you because he had the bread to do that. Mm-hmm. So I never went into anything like that with him. And I had just never signed releases or something. So when I left, lawyers were telling me, man, he owes you millions of dollars and you can go. And I never did. There's prices that myself and Morris had to pay if we were leaving. But I was never in a contract, but there was prices you had to pay. You had to give up some things.
Back then it was crazy. People coming left and right, fast lane, the partying and all of that stuff got out of control. It just really, I kind of went from just somewhat of a famous singer to this movie star / singer. My feet left the ground a little bit. Morris Day became bigger than life then. Life will always deal you a reality check.